Welcome to Monday afternoon employee wellness live stream. Jeremiah Sarkett and myself, Krisna Hanks, are thrilled to have Scott Gingold from Gingold Advisors here today with us on the live stream. Before we even get into the fun and the nitty-gritty, we're going to put up here our medical disclaimer, just so that you know, we are Ovadia Heart Health. However, this program and any of our other live streams that we do is really for educational and empowerment purposes. This is not personal medical advice. If you're looking to work with the Ovadia team, please reach out at team@ifixhearts.com. All right, here we go. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you very much. Great to be here with you today.
Thank you. So for our audience, would you mind telling us a little bit about your background, what you're currently doing, what you're up to, and any other things you'd like to share with us on this Monday afternoon?
Sure. Well, greetings to the audience from frigid Florida, where it's like 40 some odd degrees. And, you know, for us Floridians, that's a challenge. So great to be with you. I always like to start out with my greatest success in life. And to date, that would be the fact that I have been married this April 42 years and together with the same wonderful person, Denise, for 45. So to me, that's always an important way to start any conversation. We, as far as professionally, I have, with my wife, built and exited 7 different businesses over the course of 4 decades. Some of my other accomplishments, I've been a part of over 70 nonprofit organizations during the course of my lifetime. Everything from volunteer to go get this, go get that, to board member, board director, board officer, board president, acting executive director, you name it. I've kind of done it in the nonprofit and volunteer world. Met my wife. We were both EMS first responders. That's where we met. We were friends, started playing Scrabble one Saturday night, and here we are almost 45 years later, still playing Scrabble. In addition, I'm a former Division I college soccer coach, and I also once upon a time had a syndicated radio talk show, in addition with a podcast, complimentary podcast, if you will. I moved to Florida in 2022. I began Gingold Advisors with the express purpose of doing executive coaching to help business leaders, owners, founders reduce their stress, improve their business. And that's what I'm all about today. And that's what I'm doing day to day in my world, as it were. And it's enough stresses out there that keep me busy with that intended audience, if you will. So that's a little bit about who I am and what I do.
Oh,
nice, Scott.
Yeah. And congratulations to you and your wife for 45 years. That is quite an accomplishment, and also for doing all those businesses together. Fantastic. So you have a unique perspective for us here in employee wellness, because you've been in so many different roles, working with all different types of companies. The purpose of this program is to dig deeper into the whole employee wellness aspect. And we're really trying to place ourselves in a different realm. We're in the metabolically health-focused realm, not in the disease management realm that so many, let's say, conventional wellness programs are in. What do you see, Scott, in the various different roles that you've been in as the sort of glue to really making successful employee wellness programs?
Well, I think the mistake that a lot of companies make, quite frankly, is, they talk about health insurance, right? What kind of benefits can we give people in this form of health insurance? But excuse me, I think that they need to think more globally about health benefits being metabolic health. I mean, when I started this journey myself, as with Dr. Ovadia and the iFixHearts team a couple of years ago, we all focus on weight loss, right? That's the thing. We got to lose weight. And of course, that's super important. But to your point, we have to think about metabolic health. And the reality of it is, if we keep our team, our employees healthier, they're going to be more happy at work. They're going to show up to work, more frequently. They're not going to be out ill. And we're going to have a more productive and conducive workplace at the end of the day. I think a lot of employers miss that because, again, they're focused on negotiating better contracts with insurance companies. And instead, they need to focus on that whole spectrum of what and how they maintain great teams in their companies.
Scott, you hinted at it a little bit just there. How can you rewind and tell the audience how you found us and your involvement with us and what your experience has been like? And just real quickly, happy MLK Day and Inauguration Day to everybody listening, our team. And Scott, thank you for coming on. It's an honor to have you. It's our commitment every Monday to come and provide value, right? Show up and educate and lead by example. So thank you for that.
Listen, the pleasure is mine, and anytime I can share the knowledge. And, I think what makes me a little bit different is the fact that I'm living this life of metabolic health, and I've been on the journey. So for me, it's not just, well, this is a really good idea for business leaders, right? I've lived this life and I know the importance of it. I have some really defined goals for my metabolic health. I became a grandfather 2 years ago, and I want to make sure that I'm around as long as possible and as healthy as possible. So not only can I be in my grandchild's life, but be an active part of that as well. And that doesn't mean being, tied to a bed or God knows what else. So to me, it's really important. And as far as employers and, the importance of this is getting them to understand that if they can keep their employees healthy, that's only to their benefit. And metabolic health is, it's not a buzzword. It's got to be a commitment on everyone's part. And it has to be something that's important and the illustrating why this is going to serve them in the long run.
And so many things in there. Your goals. One of the first things we talk about in our programs is tap into your why, right? Why do you want to be healthy? And you just mentioned you've got some grandkids. You've got your wife you've had for 45 years and business partner. And this is important. The other piece I just want to pick up on is the commitment. If the leaders aren't committed and doing it themselves, very hard to set that example. We talked last week also about leading by example.
Well, I think that, to your point, in my businesses, and every one of my businesses was different. I've had a cybersecurity company, mergers and acquisitions, logistics. I've been a market research company. Everyone was different, but the common theme among all of them was making sure that you set that example, not only by your actions and what you do as a leader. And, there's a huge difference between being a leader and a boss. And one of the ways a leader exemplifies themselves or differentiates themselves, I should say, is by paying attention to their health. I read an interesting, little tidbit this morning online about a nurse who, she is the one that's there and people, the last hours of their lives and maybe days, if it were, and almost all of them said the same thing, which is they wish they had paid more attention to their health. And so while we want to appeal to people individually, it's really important for companies and businesses to understand that, especially skilled trades and people with special talents, those people are not easy to find and replace. Trust me, I've been in business with skilled positions in the different companies I've owned, and you never want to replace them, first of all. And if you have to, it's not an easy chore. So making sure that you take care of them is, again, it's kind of an insurance policy for yourself and your own business too.
Love that.
Yeah. I love that distinction between leader and a boss, right? and as we know, leading at this moment, some people say it's 12% of U.S. adults have good metabolic health. Some say it's down to 7%. We've got lots of work to do in the metabolic health space. And I also want to go back to your point about the weight loss. We've talked about this a few times, Jeremiah and I, and historically, a lot of wellness programs have solely focused on the weight loss. They'd have Biggest Loser challenges. They'd have different competitions about weight loss, but true health is bigger than the scale. And there are so many other things, especially from the business side as an executive coach. I'm sure that just working on individuals' communication skills can be important in their health. Right? And we hope to kind of highlight not only the metabolic health markers, but also the workplace markers that can just make you feel better and be a better performer.
Well, exactly. And to your point, nowadays HR departments tend to focus on all those little things, which are actually big things, which is making sure it's a safe space, making sure that everyone feels comfortable and everyone is, getting the attention they need. But where is the metabolic health piece to that puzzle? And oftentimes it's left out. And I still go back to, I know so many businesses that, come October, they're thinking about health insurance for the next year costs. How can we minimize costs? They don't talk about maximizing the benefit, though, of things like metabolic health. And they ignore that piece, and they're doing so at their peril. Because, again, if your people can't work, or if they're not able to, or they're frequently going to doctor's appointments only to get more pills and more whatever, how is that benefiting your business? It's really not. I've been fortunate in my, with my metabolic journey that relatively been, as far as what I used to do is it seems like I was at the doctor every winter, every other week for something, where when you're focusing on your metabolic health, you're in a much better position to function each and every day at a high level. And that's what we really want, is we want people to function at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. What are some strategies that you've seen, Scott, or what you've implemented to help with wellness or employee wellness, culturally integrating that into the system? It's new. People aren't really taking to it, like, especially even like leadership groups. How have you brought this to your team? And this is what we're going with, guys. This is the why behind it.
Sure. The why is super important. I compare trying to get my clients to understand the why of this metabolic health journey to trying to get people to sign up for a 401k. Not so easy because, right, it's not immediate. It's not immediate fix. Like if I start this metabolic, the iFix Hearts teams come in today and give a great seminar, great learning experience. The reality of it is, as good as you all are, things don't change overnight, right? It takes time. The same with a 401k. You invest the money in the 401k, it builds over time. And then, there's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. The same thing exists with our metabolic health. When we invest in our metabolic health, then we know at the end of the rainbow, there will be benefits. I'm careful what I say here because I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV either. But, for me, it was a question of reduced, I don't take a quarter of even a tenth of the medications I once took. So because of the fact that I'm paying attention to my metabolic health, and frankly, some of the parts of working with iFix Hearts is I go for lab work that no other doctor ever prescribed to me. And that's because Dr. Ovadia and the team at iFix Hearts are looking at me through a different lens. And they're, so when I try and convey this to my clients who have plenty of employees, it's getting them to understand the benefits of why this is important. And to your point, the why. And it always comes down to why. And I would say, in addition to the why, everything in life is with them. Everything. What's in it for me? If you ask your kid to empty the dishwasher, they're going to say, well, great. Can you drive me to the mall? Or can you do this or that? The WIFM for an employer, though, is, again, having a workforce that's productive, happy, and can actually do their job day in and day out, whether they're on site or working remotely.
I love that, Scott. I teach WIFM as a sales leader all the time. That's a great analogy too with the 401k. I know, Krisna, that you took to that.
100%. Well, first, I just want to relay a comment that came in. It says, Scott knows his stuff. I love it. Couple exclamation points from Megan.
Thank you, Megan. Awesome.
Thank you, Megan.
Megan is awesome. And if you have HR needs, you need to talk to Megan because she's awesome.
Oh, well, you can't have a company with high performance without great HR leadership. That's for sure. Yes. On the investment, we talk about within the Ovadia team, you got to have that financial investment. Everybody knows that. But if you're not investing in your health, what are you going to be able to do with that? You may not be around to actually even be able to tap into that financial investment. The two buckets need to be filled on a regular basis. And something that I like about your strategy is also to with all the businesses that you've been incorporating, really have this sort of 360 approach. And that's what it seems like health and wellness needs these days. It's been very tunnel vision, right? You got an illness, okay, here's a medication or here's a surgery. And if we open it up, much like you do with your executive coaching, working with different business, you got to look at everything.
Well, and exactly right. And let's talk about medications for a moment. You know, I don't care what your health plan is, medications are getting more and more expensive by the day. The days of the golden healthcare plan, to me at least, seem to be over. Especially, prescription drug plans. It's expensive, no matter how you slice it. And there's a lot of apps out there, I know that, but frankly, it's still expensive. Do you really want your people to have that burden? Why you should try and, I think as a leader myself, but as I try and tell my clients all the time, you want to try and make things easier for your people. Because if you're trying to push that easy button for them and they can save money, because everything's expensive, childcare, inflation, gas, blah, 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 but if you can make control the controllables, I always say, and one of the ways you can control the controllables is to do everything possible to make your team healthier, so they don't have that added burden of out of control drug prices that are just almost impossible to control in any way, meaningful way.
Absolutely. And you just pretty much described the difference between a metabolic health focused program and a disease management focused program. Our goal is to see how much can we improve and enhance with lifestyle, and therefore help the company reduce that medication spend. That's a goal, and what we're working on with companies.
100%.
Well, and I see it all the time in the discussion. I live on LinkedIn. I mean, I'm just there all the time. And I see people commenting all the time about, what costs them in prescriptions and what it costs them in healthcare. And, I always lean back in my chair and think if they only paid a little bit more attention to their health in the first place. And granted, I was a latecomer myself to the whole metabolic health journey. Thank God, though, I caught the train before it left the station. So I'm still here to talk about it. But the time to act is really now, not only for yourself, but for your team and for anyone that you have influence over, quite frankly. I've been telling some of my nonprofit clients, again, I come from a great background in volunteerism, working with a lot of nonprofit organizations, volunteer organizations. And, it's hard to get volunteers. So one of the ways that you should be investing in your volunteer force is metabolic health as well, because again, it's not easy to get people to volunteer.
Oh, 100%. And, we've grown up to beyond the idea that wellness is just a nice have or a nice perk, or, you can list it in your benefits when you've got your new hires, into thinking, what about performance? How can we enhance people's performance in life and in work? And that, what we see is that foundation piece of metabolic health has to be there. And I'm going to make it, Jeremiah, every Monday, I promise to say, what are the 5 markers of metabolic health? Your waist circumference, blood pressure, blood glucose, triglycerides, and HDL.
Love it. I thought you were going to quiz Scott, and Scott would have hammered those, by the way. So that's terrific. Scott, you said something, and, I see how you're a great leader and coach just from the time spent with you here. Like, how would, again, I'm thinking maybe a new leader, somebody in HR that's tasked with creating a system this year. We're in January, right? People are rolling things out for this year. How would somebody get involved with tackling the strategy behind this? What would some first steps be maybe that they would take incorporating an employee wellness program?
Well, again, let me throw some props out to someone like Megan Giuliano, who chimed in before. She's an external HR person. And one of the things that she does, I know, she consults with companies on the why, right? Understanding, clarifying what, when you're interviewing somebody, you want to understand their why, their needs, what they want. And listen, HR people do this all the time. But I would say instilling into the whole hiring process, understanding, but researching with your current team, what's important to them, what do they want? How do they feel about if they could improve their health? What would that mean to them personally? Because again, that becomes the greatest way to attract talent. If you have a happy workforce, if you have a workforce that feels cared for, that feels valued, that feels like they matter, they will recommend good, great people as well. You know, generally speaking, we hang out or we associate with people like ourselves. So if we have, if we're a really good person, a great team player, great worker, we generally hang out with those people too. And that's who we want referred to our companies to work there as well. And the way we do that is we put a value on their health and we make them know that they are valued that way.
Building winning teams. Love
Yep.
it, Coach. Let's get our white papers up real quick, team, because we've done some excellent work showcasing our expertise, the team game here with the white papers. Also, you can always dig in with Krisna and I and have a strategy session just about what talk about with Scott. Krisna, what were you going to say?
Yeah, absolutely. So our white papers, we've got 4 out. We got a 5th one coming out soon, or just another way to help continue the conversation, help, people like you're working with Scott, just to see some insights. Our first one was the role of sedentary behavior in the workplace. Next one was on addiction in the workplace, all kinds of addiction. That's a specific theme we're working on with one company. We talked about mindset. And our last one was leading by example. And our future one to be coming out from our great Jen Cleveland, who you know well, Scott, will be on diabetes in the workplace. We're excited about that one. And I was thinking while you were talking, Scott, I heard and I'm just going to paraphrase it the other day, but Robert Kennedy Jr. said something, when you're healthy, you've got all kinds of dreams. You got maybe 1,000 dreams. You're dreaming the American dream. When you're not healthy, when you're ill, you've got one dream, and that's to be healthy. And if you think about that, that's powerful in the workplace, because it's hard to focus on what you really want to do, even if you're wanting to be part of the team. If you're ill, it takes up all your energy.
I would take it a step further and say when you're not healthy, you tend to look a lot at your will, your life insurance policy, and reviewing your final documents versus making plans to go on a really great trip or to plan for the expansion of your company, as the case may be. My father had a wonderful saying about good people are hard to find, harder still to keep. And, again, I go back to when you take care of your people, it's a whole other story because they want to be affiliated with someone like you. I mentioned before about, attracting good people. Your people are your best advertisement to come work for your company. I'll give an example. I don't know about this year, but I remember last year reading a story about the Kansas City Chiefs locker room. It was, your audience and you probably know, locker rooms today are nothing like days have gone by. I mean, they're luxury palaces, right? The Kansas City Chiefs were not exactly known as having a luxury locker room, but everyone wants to play for the Chiefs. Why? Great coach, and I'm a Jets fan, so I'm not biased here. So, by the way, everyone feels sorry for me because I'm a Jets fan. But, it's a great organization, a great coach. They're winners. But despite having a not exactly great locker room appealing wise, people want to be there. And it's the same thing when you have great people. They want to be there who are happy and content and feel cared for.
Nice.
Great sort of story to finish on. So,
Yeah.
Scott, give us a little bit of tip where people can find you. I know you're super active on LinkedIn. Any other places because you work with such a diverse population?
The best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn, Scott Gingold, all one word. I know it's underneath my picture here, but just put the two together, Scott Gingold. And if you have questions about metabolic health, my journey, what I've experienced with iFix Hearts, I'll be straight up with everybody. That's just the way I operate. And I would tell you, just reach out to me and let me know. I'm happy to engage with anybody. It's really, I guess I've been with iFix Hearts and Dr. Ovadia for about 3 years now. A little bit personal story, and that is my wife. When I joined, I was really obese and really not metabolically healthy. My wife was I'm pretty much the opposite. Yeah, she has celiac, but she did not have a weight issue or metabolic health per se. But I believed in this so much that I signed her up in year 2. And we're both grateful every single day because, again, I'm not sure I'd still be here today, frankly, if I hadn't done this. So if you want to find me and you have questions, I'm on LinkedIn, Scott Gingold. I'm easy to find.
Oh,
Nice, Scott.
fabulous story. And, that's the power of one became the power of two. And we're trying to make that circle even broader here on our Mondays. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your time. And I'm just going to finish here. Megan, once again, perfect example of attracting and retaining great talent. It isn't always about the glitz and glamour, for sure.
Amen.
Thank you, Scott. Great leadership here. Keep it going. I can't wait to connect with you on LinkedIn.
Pleasure's mine. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
Thank you, team. We'll see you next Monday. Thank you,
See you
Krisna.
next Monday.